Okay, it's a gloomy afternoon here, and I'm probably not gonna do work for too long this afternoon because, to tell you the truth, I haven't caught up on much sleep since last Friday. But figured I'd start tinkering with this little guy a little bit. To tell you the truth, if I could honestly get it running before snow flies, if I could make it work, I might take it home, and even if the blades on it are shit, try to like shred some leaves or something with it just to tinker with it. Might be a pipe dream, might not make it that far, but anyway. So several guys have told me that this is probably part of a rototiller mount. So at some point this thing had a rototiller with it. Ironically, when I was on eBay looking for a manual for it, there is a Minneapolis Moline Jacobson snowblower for it on there for $250. Has the Minneapolis Moline serial tag on it and the whole 9 yards. Don't really need a snowblower for it, but it's there. It was tempting. And speaking of serial number tags, everybody was kind of missing the point about me being a little upset that the serial number tag was missing. Saying I could find the year off the engine and stuff, and the year is only part of the importance of that serial number tag. Yeah, it'd be nice to know the year of it for sure, which, yes, I can find it off the tag on the engine. And yes, I am pretty certain that that's the original engine because the paint matches. But these things got serial number tags on them that said Minneapolis Moline on the serial number tag. So half of authenticating the tractor as a legit Minneapolis Moline, other than the fact that we can look at it, and you and I can both tell by the paint on it that this is indeed originally a Minneapolis Moline 112. But let's say I'm not going to do it, but let's say at some point in its life somebody decides they want to restore it and repaint it and make it look pretty, or make it look shiny. I think it looks pretty just the way it is, but now you slap the new coat of paint on it, and without that serial number tag that says Minneapolis Moline on it, all of a sudden anybody could take a Jacobson and paint it like this and make a clone, and it's not a legit Mini. So that's partly why I said that it devalues the tractor a little bit, not having that Minneapolis Moline tag, is because you can't, other than the fact that I'm going to leave it original for authenticity purposes, if you're going to repaint it, other than taking pictures and having somebody believe your story, without that Minneapolis Moline serial number tag, you have no way to authenticate this as a legit Minneapolis Moline garden tractor. Which is why I was, like I say, which is why I was a little upset that the serial number tag was missing. So, but with that being said, a couple of guys also said that there's a toolbox under the seat on this thing. So we're going to take a look-see if there's anything in there of value. Nope. Damn. I was kind of hoping we were going to find a battery box cover in there. What I'm probably going to end up having to do is find a Jacobson Chief or Super Chief as a parts tractor, and or hopefully find a... I know where there's a couple Fords this body style, because they obviously offered this as the Jacobson Super Chief. They offered it as a Ford. They offered it as a white Town and Country, which would have been pre-Oliver Garden tractors. You could actually buy a white Town and Country before they even made white farm tractors. I can't remember if they made any cockshuts this body style. It seems like I remember seeing some red ones. No, I don't think they did. I think they offered the Oliver body style Jacobsons in red, but they were badged as a white, not a cockshut. I don't think... I'm trying to remember. But either way, I know for certain they offered him as a Ford, they offered him a Jacobson, they offered him as a Moline, and then they offered him as a white Town and Country. And the whites had like a pearl white chassis and like a almost like a robin egg blue hood and fenders and stuff. It was kind of a, I don't know. I've seen them. I guess they look sharp in a 19, like, I don't know. To me, the paint scheme was kind of eh. It was almost girly, like they were trying to sell them to the women, which I'm sure they kind of were, but eh. So anyway, Dad was going to take a shot at welding up the grill on this thing. I am going to pull the fuel tank off that real quick. I wanted to see if I can get some air in these tires. I'm not replacing the tires if I don't have to, because these are the original Goodyear turf tires, matching original Goodyear tires that belong on it. So, and the rears are actually holding air. It's just the fronts, which that's a little rough. Although if I put a tube in it, it might hold. Because I think they are currently tubeless. If I had to guess. Yeah, there's no tube in there. I don't know if them fronts are gonna make it, boys. And the valve stem's ripped off of that one. So I'm not gonna get air in the front tires today. I'll have to get some tubes. Hopefully they'll hold up with tubes, because I'd really like to keep, because all the tread pattern is matching. And if I can't get these to hold, I might try to find a set of these that are in decent shape so that they will still match the rears. So anyhow, I'm going to get that fuel tank off, get that hunk of grill off so that Dad can screw with that. And I will probably see if I can get that fuel tank cleaned out. Okay, I got the grill apart and got, I cleaned all the grease off of it, the solvent tank. Before we go welding on it, Dad wants me to try to sandblast the edges. So I'm going to take it over to a buddy's house and put it in their blast cabinet, and I'm not going to do the whole grill, just right along the edge of the brake to clean it up. Unfortunately, he's not home yet, so I can't go over there. Clean the fuel tank up. The inside of that is surprisingly spotless. I mean, the fuel that came out of it was like burnt orange and smelled like varnish. So I figured sure as shit it would be all full of slime and stuff. It's spotless, looks like brand new steel. Pulled the shut-off valve out. It was actually, I couldn't figure out why it was leaking fuel, because it felt like it was tight closed. Now it turns out it was just stuck. So I tore that apart, got it freed up, got it to where it actually threads all the way in, all the way out, oiled the seal, so it should seal up. So I think before, I put air in the rear tires. They held. I put about 11 pounds in them. Probably a tad too much, but stretch them out a little bit and make sure they're not gonna do anything stupid. The tread on them is really damn good. I don't really, since they were never flat, the sidewalls never buckled like the front tires did, so the rear tires are actually in really damn good shape. What I kind of want to do before we tear into this too much further is pull the point cover off, which they were real jackass on this one, and they got the points are right here on the back side of the engine. But pull that cover off and clean the points up and just throw a battery charger on it and see if I can get it to roll over and see if it's even got spark or if I need to be hunting down a point kit for it. So, I have to get an air wand and blow that off. Well, we're finding some interesting stuff here. I pulled the drive belt guard cover off so that I could get to the bottom screw on the points, and this old oil can, which still feels like it might pump something if you put something in it, was laying right there. And I was screwing with this wire because I was going to get it off and out of the way, and I yanked on it and it moved something. I was like, well, that's different. And then once I got that belt cover off so I could see it. Show up light. That's your, that wire there is currently your hydro lever. This is the actual hydro lever. And there's supposed to be a link with, I'm assuming, heim joints on both ends that connects this block to that block, and apparently it came apart at some point, and that wire is their forward backward control, which it probably makes it really fun to find neutral. So definitely gonna have to do something about locating that piece before we go too far, because I'm not driving it like that. So anyway, now I can pop them points, or pop that point cover off. Okay, I got the point cover off, and the points actually look surprisingly clean. There's no fuzzies growing on them, but we'll take our little point file here and open them up. I have to get a little bit more aggressive to shine them guys up. Let me grab some emery cloth. This old thing's getting right out there on the end where you always use it. It's getting pretty dull in its old age. Okay, I got the battery charger hooked up, and like I say, this I want to see if it'll roll over under its own power. Although technically it's not a battery, so it's not under its own power, but I want to see if it'll roll over with the starter. And I want to see if it'll spark, because if it won't spark... Luckily the condenser's up here and real easy to change. If it won't spark, my guess is the condenser's probably bad, because the points don't look terrible. But anyway, we will... Surely that'd be enough to... Let's see if that at least make the starter groan. Oh. I don't think I got a good connection. Let me adjust. Take two. Oh. I am going to... It'd be nice if I could roll that belt off the hydro so that we just take that guy completely out of the equation temporarily. Okay, rolling it off is a little bit of a chore, but I took it out of its tension loop, so it should just slip. Let's see how that does. Oh, where's the damn... There it is. Well, it's got decent compression. I wish that damn belt would just slip, but it's rusty enough. Let's give it a little more juice. Holy shit, it sparks. I'll be damned. It sparks, it's got compression. By all rights, if I can get fuel to it, it should run. I just don't know without a battery in it, as anemic as it rolls over, if it's enough to run it, if it's enough to get full voltage to the ignition system while rolling it over and everything at the same time. But I'm impressed. It will definitely need the battery cables, at least this guy right off the bat, replaced, because at some point somebody put that's like a GM style side post terminal. But I'm impressed. It's got spark, which means points of condenser are good. Coil should be good. Huh. And I'm impressed that it's got good compression. Well, I mean, I knew it had compression because I rolled it over at the auction, but I'll be doggone. I want to do it one more time. Yeah, I mean, it's got spark. I'm guessing I'd have to get a battery physically in it. Obviously, so that the charger's not doing all the work. Which obviously, once there's a battery in it, you won't need the charger anyhow. But this tells me what I needed to know. It's got spark. It's got compression. It rolls over. It may or may not charge. We won't know that until... Which does this? Yeah, it's got an amp gauge in it. Actually, it's the same generic Stewart Warner gauge that's in our Sears. Well, that's neat. That makes life easier than if you don't have to track down ignition parts. I might still put them on the radar just to have them in case they do decide to fail, but this should get us running. Cool. Okay, I think I reached my stopping point for today. I got the carburetor off. The inside of that thing is nasty. The throttle butterfly is actually, well, it was froze. I got it freed up, but it's still not. Like, it should just move freely, and it's you gotta force it. So, that's definitely gonna need cleaned up. I managed to get enough, or the gaskets off intact enough to copy them. Because it looks like, other than the bowl gasket, which looks like it could possibly be rubber, there really ain't a whole lot to that carburetor. It's a lot simpler than, say, something on a Briggs & Stratton this era. So I'm going to put that and the air neck, which is equally nasty, put those in the solvent tank and just let them soak overnight before I even bother tearing them apart. And I guess that brings my next fear as to what the inside of that fuel lift pump looks like. If these are that gummy. But cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess. Yup, but if that does have to come off, it almost has to happen before you put the carburetor back on. Otherwise, you can't get to the damn thing. So, I guess we shall see how that goes later. Alright, quick wrap up to this video. We're the next night. I got the carburetor and the air neck cleaned up and made new gaskets to put the carb back on the motor. Everything cleaned up good. I didn't really see, I mean, I could have got a carb kit for it, but there's really nothing to that carburetor. The carb kit probably would have been gaskets and probably a new needle, so that was a really, really stupid, simple carburetor. It's kind of nice. And I don't know, I'm still contemplating whether or not I'm going to pull that fuel lift pump off or not. But got the grill, I got the edges of the brake on the grill sandblasted. So that will be, or that's ready to weld back together. I got tubes for the front tires and I got a battery for it. The manual showed up today. Unfortunately, when they did the manual, they didn't actually take any specific pictures of a Minneapolis Moline. They just changed the front cover to say Minneapolis Moline, and then the rest of it's just the inside of the book's just pictures of a Jacobsen with Jacobsen white outed on the side of the hood, so it doesn't say anything. So that's where we're at. Tomorrow we're going back to shelling corn, and probably, well, tomorrow I'm going to shell corn. Friday I got an auction that I'm going to, and then shelling corn the rest of the weekend until the weather goes shit again. So that will be the last we see of this thing until we get more rain. So I guess that's where we're at. So that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.